When the brisk autumn wind rolls in, and the nights fill with gloom, we gather to hear stories about the things that will make your blood run cold. Dim the lights, lock your doors, and do not look out your windows. You've now entered the darkness of horror. Welcome to October's Curse. There's a cold place where time doesn't pass, where the sun doesn't rise and the moon doesn't set. It's a realm between existence and oblivion. This is where souls go after they've left their bodies, but not yet fully departed, like marionettes dangling from the strings they can't see. A man named Jonah woke there one evening. He couldn't recall how he arrived. His body, though, was unmistakably his own. He felt every breath, every heartbeat, but the sensation was faint, like a flickering light about to die. He turned his head to see the remnants of his surroundings. Jagged black stone, an endless void overhead, and mist rolling around his feet like smoke from a dying fire. He heard something, a whisper, faint but unmistakable. Life is just a form of animated death. Jonah froze. The words gnawed at the edges of his mind, but the more he thought about them, the less sense they made. Wasn't he alive? His body ached with the familiarity of life, even though it felt wrong, like a suit too tight. The whispers grew louder. Life is the animation, but death is what animates you. Jonah stumbled forward, trying to walk, but feeling no control over his legs. They moved on their own. Not quite his own movements, but someone or something else was controlling them. In a blink, he was standing in a place he recognized, his childhood home. But it wasn't quite right. The walls trembled with an unnatural, sickly vibration. Shadows danced across the room in jerky, erratic motions, as if their shapes were half-formed. His mother sat at the kitchen table, her face a blank mask of stillness. Her eyes were open, but they were empty, lifeless, and yet she continued to stir a spoon in a bowl, her actions stiff and mechanical. Jonah tried to call out to her, but the words stuck in his throat. He could see her lips moving, but she wasn't speaking. She was mouthing something to him, as though reading from a script she couldn't understand. "Life is the death that keeps moving," she mouthed. He shook his head, terrified. He reached out, but the air around him thickened, like he was wading through a sea of tar. Each step forward was a struggle, each breath a labor. He forced himself closer to her, desperate to break her from the trance she was locked in. Suddenly, everything froze. The house, the shadows, the air, it all went still. And then, in a horrific whisper, he heard it again, but this time, it was his own voice speaking. Life is just a form of animated death. His mother turned her head slowly and unnaturally. Her eyes locked onto his with a hollow gaze, and her lips cracked into a smile that stretched too wide to be human. It was a grin that shouldn't have been possible for a living thing, but there she was, wearing it like a mask. Jonah stumbled back, tripping over his own feet as he realized that the smile was not just hers, it was his own. He looked down at his hands. They weren't his anymore, at least not in the way he remembered them. His fingers were thinner, paler, almost translucent. The veins beneath his skin bulged unnaturally, like they were struggling to contain the pressure of something inside. The voice inside his head, his voice, began to laugh, an awful sound that echoed inside his skull. "Don't you see?" it crooned. "The moment you were born, you were already dying. The moment you took your first breath, the animation began. But you, Jonah, you're just a corpse that doesn't know it's dead yet. All of this body, this life, is nothing more than a string of movements that hides the truth." Jonah's body trembled. It was as if the world around him was no longer real. The air had turned thick and viscous, and the ground beneath him seemed to warp with every step. The walls closed in. He ran, but the space only distorted further, warping, stretching, as if mocking his attempts to escape. Everywhere he turned, the figures from his past were there. His friends, his lovers, even strangers he'd never met. Their faces were blank and lifeless, yet they moved, spoke, and laughed. They performed like puppets, locked in a play that they could neither comprehend nor control. The more he struggled, the more the words of the voice repeated. Life is the animation, death is the animator. Jonah collapsed to his knees, overwhelmed by the suffocating realization. There was no escape. He wasn't living. He had never truly lived. He was just a puppet, pulled on invisible strings by forces beyond his understanding. His mind had been a prisoner, fooling itself into thinking that the pain, the joy, the suffering, and the elation were all real. In this place, there was no death, only the animated motions of a body that kept going, kept moving. The truth was too horrible to face, too deep to understand. He closed his eyes, but even in darkness, the whispers came, colder than ever. We are already dead.